Hey guys, welcome back. I hope you are having an amazing day. Let's get right into the stories. The first one is a pro-revenge story. A couple of years ago, I had a persistent lunch thief at my office. After about the 10th time reporting to HR about someone stealing my lunch, company policy required reporting every third or fourth incident, I was fuming. Nothing was being done, and I still had to go out and buy something to eat every time it happened. During my annual checkup last spring, I was venting to Dr. Martinez about the situation. He got this sly grin and asked, "So you're having digestive issues then?" Confused, I replied, "No, why?" He scribbled out a prescription for some industrial-strength laxative, instructing me to mix it in with your meal for maximum effect. That's when I caught on to his plan. I wish I could say the thief embarrassed themselves publicly, but that's not quite how it went down. They ate my sandwich with its special avocado sauce. About an hour after lunch, I marched into HR and reported two things. 1, my lunch was stolen again, and 2, my medication was taken. Sarah from HR asked, "So the lunch thief struck again, and your medicine was in the bag?" "Yes," I replied. "I've been having some digestive problems, and Dr. Martinez prescribed a powerful laxative. He advised me to mix it in with my midday meal." Sarah's face went pale. "You did what?" I smiled and said, "I mixed a prescription-grade laxative with my food, as per doctor's orders." Since stealing prescribed medication is a criminal offense, the police were called. They found Kevin, the team lead from the marketing department, in the bathroom, violently emptying his bowels. He was livid and accused me of poisoning his food. I retorted, "At what point did you think that food was meant for you? Moreover, now I no longer have the medication I was prescribed for my condition." It was then that Kevin realized he'd messed up big time. He clammed up until he got a lawyer, or so I heard through the grapevine. Small town, you know how it is. My old high school buddy Mike ended up taking his position after everything blew over. These days I can make and enjoy my sandwiches in peace. As for Kevin, last I heard he was doing community service and paying fines. No idea where he ended up after that whole fiasco. The next one is an entitled people story. I've been working at this small tech startup for about 2 years now. We're a team of around 20 people all crammed into this tiny office space downtown. The company was founded by this really smart guy named Dave. He's young, maybe early 30s, but he's got some brilliant ideas and managed to secure quite a bit of funding to get us off the ground. When I first started, things were great. Everyone was excited about the work we were doing, putting in long hours to meet deadlines and hit our milestones. But about 6 months ago, Dave hired this new supervisor named Karen to help manage some of the day-to-day operations so he could focus more on the big picture stuff. At first, Karen seemed okay. She was friendly enough and seemed to know what she was talking about in meetings. But it didn't take long for her true colors to show. Within a few weeks, it became clear that Karen was lazy as hell and had no idea what she was doing. She'd come in late almost every day, usually rolling in around 10 or 11 a.m. Then she'd spend most of her time gossiping with the receptionist or scrolling on her phone. Whenever Dave or anyone else asked her to do something, she'd always have some excuse for why she couldn't get to it right away. "Oh, I've got this other urgent thing I need to take care of first," she'd say. Or, "I'll get right on that after lunch." But then lunch would come and go and the work still wouldn't be done. The rest of us were getting pretty frustrated. We were all busting our asses trying to meet deadlines and grow the company while Karen just sat around collecting a paycheck. A few of us tried bringing it up with Dave, but he always brushed it off. "I'm sure she's just still getting up to speed," he'd say. "Give her some time to settle in." But as the weeks went by, Karen's behavior only got worse. Not only was she not doing any actual work, but she started acting like she was in charge of everything. She'd try to boss people around and take credit for other people's ideas in meetings. The final straw came about a month ago. We had this huge potential client coming in for a demo of our software. Dave was out of town at a conference, so he asked Karen to lead the presentation. We all knew this was a bad idea, but what could we do? The day of the big meeting arrived, and Karen showed up an hour late looking like she'd just rolled out of bed. Her hair was a mess, and she reeked of booze. As soon as the clients walked in, she started acting all weird and flirty with them. It was super uncomfortable. Then when it came time for the actual demo, it was clear Karen had no clue how our product actually worked. She kept fumbling around, clicking random buttons and saying nonsense like, "As you can see, the algorithm uses blockchain AI to optimize the cloud synergy." The clients were visibly confused and annoyed. About 15 minutes in, one of them stood up and said, "I'm sorry, but this is a waste of our time. We'll be in touch." Then they all walked out. We were all in shock. This was potentially $1 million deal down the drain because Karen couldn't be bothered to prepare. As soon as the clients left, Karen turned to us and snapped, "Well, don't just stand there, clean this mess up, I've got a lunch appointment." And with that, she grabbed her purse and walked out, leaving the rest of us to deal with the fallout. I immediately called Dave to let him know what happened. He was furious and said he'd be on the next flight back, but before he could return, things got even crazier. The next morning, Karen came in acting like nothing had happened, but now she was telling everyone that she was actually the CEO of the company. She claimed that Dave had secretly made her the boss and that we all had to do whatever she said from now on. Dave realized he wasn't cut out to run this place, she told us, so he's stepping down and putting me in charge. I expect you all to show me the respect I deserve as your new leader. We were all stunned. This woman had single-handedly torpedoed a huge deal for us, and now she was claiming to be the CEO. It was insane. A few people tried to argue with her, but she threatened to fire anyone who didn't fall in line. For the next 2 days, it was complete chaos. Karen was strutting around like she owned the place, barking out ridiculous orders and threatening people's jobs if they didn't comply. She even tried to access our financial accounts, claiming she needed to audit the books. Thankfully, Dave got back before she could do any real damage. As soon as he walked in and saw what was happening, he lost it. He called security to escort Karen out of the building, then gathered us all for an emergency meeting. "I am so sorry for all of this," he told us. "I had no idea things had gotten so bad. I promise you, Karen is gone for good and nothing like this will ever happen again." We were all relieved, but also pretty shaken up by the whole ordeal. Dave spent the next few weeks trying to repair the damage Karen had done, including reaching out to the clients we'd lost to try and salvage the deal. As for Karen, it turns out her delusions of grandeur didn't stop with our company. She apparently went to several other businesses in town, claiming to be their new CEO as well. She even showed up at City Hall saying she was the new mayor. Eventually, she got arrested for trespassing and disturbing the peace. Last I heard, she was undergoing a psychiatric evaluation. Part of me almost feels bad for her. Clearly, she's got some serious issues. But mostly, I'm just glad she's out of our lives for good. Things at work have finally started to settle down again. Dave hired a new supervisor who's actually competent and hardworking. We managed to land an even bigger client to make up for the one we lost. And we all learned a valuable lesson about the importance of vetting new hires carefully. Looking back, it's kinda crazy how one lazy, delusional person managed to cause so much chaos in such a short time. But I guess that's the danger of letting the wrong person into a position of authority. Hopefully nothing like this ever happens again. But if it does, at least we'll be better prepared to deal with it. The next one is a petty revenge story. This happened a few years ago. I was one of about 5 teachers in a summer camp. One of the teachers was very young, just out of university. As often happens, he thought he was the best. For some reason, he started complaining about me behind my back, never to my face, and making a big deal about miscommunications. At one point, all the teachers had a meeting that I missed because, like most meetings, they are a waste of time. But he kept complaining about me, calling me stupid, etc. I know about this because the other teachers told me he was the only person that had a problem with me. Again, not a word to my face. Cue my petty revenge. One of my tasks as a hobby photographer was to take pictures so at the end we could have a slideshow of summer camp moments. It took me hours and hours of extra work, but I photoshopped him out of every single picture. When possible, I just cropped his head out. So there were many pictures with only his leg or an arm in the frame. The only picture where he finally appeared was the official photo with everyone in it. It would be strange if he didn't appear on this picture. So I made him look red as if he was sunburnt, made his eyes look bloodshot, and made his teeth look as yellow as canned corn. Nobody ever said anything to me. Most people look for themselves in the pictures, and everyone else found themselves just fine. The next one is a malicious compliance story. This happened in the early 2000s in my junior year of high school. The district had just built the 3rd high school in our city, and most of the teachers were new. The band director was one of those new hires. He was qualified for the job, but had 0 people skills and was extremely abrasive towards students. He had previously taught university and could not wrap his head around the fact that high school students are not college-level music majors who live in practice rooms and write symphonies in their sleep. His normal behavior consisted of berating students for not knowing university-level curriculum, talking down to everyone about how he can't understand why they were so incompetent, and stopping rehearsals to go on long tangents about things that had nothing to do with music. Every day, at least 2 to 3 students would leave class in tears. We complained to the higher-ups and they repeatedly brushed us off. He made students hate attending his music classes, and many dropped band and orchestra as a result. One of the classes he taught was supposed to be Intro to Music Theory. For those who don't know music, this would be a class that should typically teach things like different types of chords, the definition of music symbols, the logic behind key changes, etc. At the first class of the year, there were about 25 kids enrolled. Most of these were music and drama kids who wanted to be teachers or performers in the arts one day. On the first day, he handed us a quiz because he wanted to see how much we knew. I think there were maybe 3 to 5 kids who were able to attempt a single question on the quiz. No one got a single answer right. That's how advanced it was. Imagine signing up for what you think is a basic pre-algebra class and walking into advanced calculus. This teacher spent the entire class period berating us for not being prepared when no one could even attempt his quiz. We told him, "This is an intro class, none of us have learned anything like this before," and his response was, "Really? I thought this was an advanced class." The next class period, there were maybe 15 kids enrolled. He did the same thing, asked us to perform something we can't even understand, and then berated us for not being prepared. At every class he would say, "I thought you all were musicians. This is supposed to be an advanced class." By the end of the second week, there were 6 students left enrolled in this class, including myself. He softened up slightly to those of us who stayed, and seemed to think we were his prize students, and that this was his class of elites. Think Professor Slughorn from Harry Potter. In truth, we all thought he was insane and cruel, but the 6 of us had sufficient music background and experience to understand a fraction of his lessons. Without the bell curve, we all would have failed his class. A few months go by, and we are at the end of the first semester. By now, every student connected to music in the school hated this guy, and repeated complaints had done nothing to fix the problem. The admins filed away every complaint, but never did anything more than remind him that he's supposed to be more kind to students. He changes nothing, and still berates students and makes them cry. So when it comes to the final exam for his theory class, he decides that he wants to give it to us early so that on the day the final is supposed to be scheduled, we can have a class party instead. Of the 6 of us left, 4 of us have the same period after his class together as well. That class was AP English, and we were prepping for the AP test. We had no problem with a class party in music right before the AP prep exam, so we didn't complain. The day comes of our music final exam, and after we finish the test, he tells us that for our class party, he wants to take us all to breakfast at a new IHOP that opened 20 minutes away. His class was first period. We try to tell him all the issues with this plan. We aren't allowed to leave campus without permission slips. It was a closed campus policy due to an incident where a student who left campus for lunch got hit by a car and was killed. We will not get back in time for second period, which is a final exam. He doesn't have permission to remove us from the campus. What if there is an emergency and we are unaccounted for because we aren't even at the school? His solution was to tell us that after the start of class on our final class day, he would be going to IHOP, and if we wanted to join him, that was our choice, but if we didn't, we would have to stay in the classroom and not bring attention to the next that there was no class and no teacher. Without talking about it to each other, the 6 of us saw an opportunity to finally get the admin's attention to the complete disregard this teacher had for rules and policies. We made sure to inform our English teacher that we might be late to class on the day of the final, due to a class field trip for music theory. She was irritated and reminded us that this final was very important and that she would not give us extra time if we came in late. We told her that we understood and gave her details about where we would be and what we would be doing and who we would be with. She said she still expected us to be in her class. On the day of the final, we all went to IHOP. It took forever to get there because of construction, and forever to get our food because the restaurant was newly opened and had a large number of customers. We got back to the school halfway through our second period class. The admins were waiting for us. Security was waiting for us. My English teacher had called the front office to complain that 4 of her best students were missing and that she was fairly certain we weren't even on campus. The admins had checked attendance and seen that we were all marked present that morning, and they had searched the entire school looking for our class. The 4 of us walked into our English final to a livid teacher. We knew she was pissed at us, but couldn't punish us beyond saying we had the same remaining time as the rest of the class, since we had been with the teacher in our absence. None of us did as well in the final as we could have if we had the full 87 minutes, but we were doing well enough in the class already that the lesser marks didn't affect our overall grade too much. The band teacher had a private reprimand that was so loud the entire school could hear it. He was confused as to why the administration was upset that he took minor children off campus without permission or notice, without proper school transportation, or even a good reason. He stayed with his usual attitude, but this time towards the admins. "Why are you guys so incompetent about this? They are old enough to drive. What's the problem?" The English teacher, who I actually adore and was one of the best teachers I've ever had, absolutely went mama bear on the administration about how they could continue to employ someone who disrespects the other teachers so much as to deprive his students of their final exams and put them in potentially dangerous circumstances. He told us to drive ourselves to the restaurant, and any accidents or medical issues would have been the school's fault. He was fired later that day. Many of the students had a gleeful but confused reaction since the 6 of us weren't talking to anyone about it. All most people knew was that this tyrant of a teacher was gone. We didn't spread the story very much of how it happened because we still feared being reprimanded for our involvement, since he technically have us a choice to go with him or stay, but I always smiled when people gossiped about what the final straw was that got him fired. The next one is an entitled people's story. I know I posted about situations with this friend. With this, I don't know what to do. I feel bad for my friend and I'm worried about her, but I don't know what else to do with her compulsive lying. My friend has a tendency of telling stories and I just assumed she is dramatic. But I noticed her lies started to get bigger. Her lies seemed to range from she was supposed to get a dog and that she took all the steps to get a dog just for it not to happen. Another time she claimed she had a miscarriage and then said a few days later, "It was just my period." She also always tells me that guys come into her work just to flirt with her and that men always approach her, ask for her number, and try to ask her out. She has also said that she feels like she's the one that got away for most men. I mean, that's a big claim to make. There's a lot of interesting lies or stories she has told me over the cost of our friendship. She's in a toxic on and off again relationship. They are a match made in hell. She has told me her boyfriend was cheating on her with a lesbian, and she made these claims for a while. Regarding cheating, she has said he was going to cheat on her during her birthday. With all the cheating, they always seem to get back together. My friend has a very traumatic and sad upbringing. Her parents are in the US undocumented. Her uncle sexually abused her as a child up unfit. She was a teenager, and her family always had money problems. The majority of money my friend makes has to go to her parents. She's even dropped out of college semesters to help her parents out financially. But with all these money problems, she buys her boyfriend everything plus more. She's even spent around $2,000 on his Christmas and birthday gift. When I told her that's not a good idea, she would tell me that I need to understand that's how she shows her love. She spends so much money on him just for him to be horrible to her in return. We have another friend that we also hang out with. She's mostly my friend since I've known her longer and I introduced them. My other friend, I'll refer to as P, told me that my friend, I'll refer to as J, told her that she's no longer with the boyfriend. I was surprised because not once has she told me that they broke up. In shock, I told P they are still together, and she said that J also told her they are just friends, and she only joins the boyfriend and the family to go to church with them. J's dad stepped out on his family back in January and moved back to Mexico. It's been really hard on her, which is understandable. J told P that her mom, brother, and herself are moving to South Carolina if the dad doesn't come back. She never told me this? My brother once joined us for a hangout, and I expressed to him my concerns with Jay's lying about her relationship. He said he's going to find a good way to put her on the spot. During the hangout, my brother asked her in front of P, "How's it going with you and your boyfriend?" Things turned awkward fast when she said that they are broken up. I asked Jay a little while later of why did she lie to my brother and P. She said that she felt like the relationship isn't going to last that long, so there's no need to say anything. I told her that's bullcrap because no matter what this guy does, they never break up. The other night, Jay told me that she's upset with her aunt. Jay said that her aunt knows how much she loves K-pop and K-dramas, so she told her daughter to get a Korean boyfriend. I think that's so weird. My fiancé, he's Korean, and I tried telling Jay that I doubt that's the case and told her. Jay then told me that her aunt is totally doing this to spite her, that she's happy with her boyfriend and she doesn't want a Korean man. I told her that I really don't believe this, plus she's making it sound like Korean men are accessories, but she followed it up by saying that she had every opportunity to be with a Korean man and chose not to. I am completely shocked to hear the extent she's going to lie. Anytime she tells me anything, I can't seem to believe anything she says, and that's a horrible feeling. Everything that comes out her mouth feels like a lie. Either she's lying to me about the relationship and they are just friends, or she's lying to P and they are still together. I don't know, is she a compulsive liar? Thank you for watching. I would really appreciate it if you could like the video and subscribe to our channel if you haven't already.